Here we go. I'd like to call the Site Plan Review Committee to order for Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kodowski,
Here.
Gary Paul,
Here.
Dennis Persick,
Here.
Dan Camperin,
Here.
Chris Atkinson,
Here.
Dale Quinn,
Here.
and Andy Kurowski is excused.
Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please remember our men and women throughout the world in uniform. I have no changes to the agenda. The only thing I am going to ask, because this committee gets a little technical at times, if you're socially distanced from each other, if you could just take your mask down a little bit when we're trying to ask some questions so that everybody can understand better. Okay. I have no changes to the agenda. I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, action on the committee minutes from January 19th, but I do have a correction. On the others that attended the meeting, it says Ken, and that is supposed to be Kevin. So with that amendment, I need a motion to approve.
So move. Second.
Motion and a second to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Review plans for the following locations. 6A, action regarding requested site plan review for Lodge Kohler Spa expansion at 1950 South Ridge Road, parcel VA-48-3. Aaron.
The requested site plan review is for a 550 square foot expansion. This will be out to the west elevation of Lodge Kohler. As you can see on the screen, it's this little red boxed area right here. Exterior materials will be consistent with Lodge Kohler as it currently is, primarily masonry, with some storefront windows in there as well. In terms of, it's a pretty straightforward application. In terms of staff conditions, only ones that we had were any new rooftop mechanical units will need to be screened, if there are any. And then the catch-all meet all applicable requirements of Ashwaubenon site plan review and all other Ashwaubenon municipal ordinances. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you if you have any.
Any questions? Pretty straightforward.
I'll make a motion to approve. Oh, sorry.
Okay, we have a motion by Dan Camperin, seconded by Dale Quinn to approve. Any more discussion?
Yes,
sorry.
one question. Aaron, is that extending out into the parking lot to takeaway parking?
No, it is not.
That way back, oh, that's the sidewalk line there I'm seeing?
Correct. Yep,
Okay, so it's not doing nothing with the parking lot?
that's correct.
Okay, very good.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6B, action regarding requested site plan review for Margaritas, 1241 Lombardi Access Road, parcel VA-46-5-B. Aaron.
Margaritas is proposing to enclose their patio area that they currently have. That would be on the east side of the current restaurant. As you can see, the rendering right here, this is the existing patio, proposing to enclose that with some overhead glass garage doors. Exterior building materials consistent with the current building, which consists of primarily stone veneer, stucco, ephes, accents, and clay tile roof, similar to the existing exterior. I guess I'm getting notice that there's no audio right now. I think we're working through some technical difficulties on that end, so I guess bear with us if you're online. In terms, they do identify some additional signage up top. Please ignore that for now. We're working through the signage as a separate issue. Signage is not subject to the site plan review action at today's meeting. No additional changes, lighting, landscaping, et cetera, are planned for the site at this time. In terms of staff conditions approval, it's just the catch-all, meet all applicable requirements of the Ashwaubenon site plan review and all other Ashwaubenon municipal ordinances. There was some questions about parking on the site, and I think what I'd probably do is, if you have any questions regarding parking, I'd probably defer to Mr. Tim Keen, proprietor of Margaritas, to answer those questions.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I've got a couple. The way I see this, you're expanding that out beyond the decorative fence that's there, out onto the sidewalk, farther, closer to the parking lot?
Okay,
And I guess,
just a
Tim,
minute, we're
if-
going to have a
If we could have
mic.
you just come up here to the microphone. Yeah.
That's correct, Gary.
All right, and then looking at your diagram back in the part here, I know, I don't have to look at it, but that fenced-in area that was there had a seating of a single row of tables to along the west side, or east side of that wall. On your drawing, you're doubling the capacity within that, and that is creating some more traffic, which naturally traffic creates cars. I know on a busy night, you're pretty full in that parking lot because I have to walk from the back to the front to get in the front door if I'm eating at your establishment. What do you intend on doing with the excess parking, or the more cars that are going to be in the parking lot when you're at full capacity?
Okay, so right now, the patio has a total seating capacity of 14 tables at 4 for 56. And so the inside here is going to have a seating capacity of 50, and then you'll have there'll be another 4 tables that will continue to be weather permitted, outdoor patio dining. So really, in effect, Gary, the parking won't change at all during the 3 or 4 months that we were using the outdoor patio. It will change the other 5 or 6 months that are, the 5 or 6 months that we'll be using it extra will be the same as what we were using it for the 3 or 4 months the last, 10 years.
Is that going to be a heated area?
Yes,
It will be heated, so it can be used 4 seasons then?
correct. We're thinking we'll probably be able to use it about 9 or 10 months.
Okay, all right. I like the looks of it. I got nothing against it, but I know parking has always been an issue around there. You've added onto that building a few times, and you took away a few parking spots as time went on. But that's what I'm concerned about, is the parking of on the property. But as far as the appearance, I like what you're doing.
Plus, Gary, with the, we're down about 30% head count in the restaurant. And, with the current pandemic still going on, a lot of 20% of our business is shifted to curbside/pickup. So as of right now, obviously, we got more than enough parking. I don't know if it will go back to that someday, but even if it does, we still should be, covered by the way that the existing outdoor patio had been used.
Well, as we all are, we're hoping we get back to some normalcy of what we're accustomed to, but I do see curbside pickup will be something that we're going to be doing for a long time because people kind of like that service, which in return is taking up your parking spots in front of the building because of that. You used to have that for customer parking or handicap parking, and now you don't have that anymore for the tenant that just wants to stop and eat at your place. So that, in my opinion, is taking away from some of the parking.
Gary, could you pull the mic a little closer to you, please? Thank you.
All right.
Okay, I have one question. So I like the project. The garage doors are going to go up and down, correct?
Yep.
Okay. You have voiced a little concern before in this area about the traffic. and Marley was expanded. So I'm hoping that that has helped. And I know that we're working through some changes with either Brookwood, the frontage road. So are you comfortable with expanding your business here?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to know, because I do like, it's a really
Yeah.
very attractive project, looks
And
good.
actually, I was just telling Dan yesterday with the site view coming out of Marley, since he redid his, since the card and coin shop went away, it's really easily a lot better visibility as far as a site triangle vision when you leave there. It's really good.
Well, good, we
So
should have
it's
knocked
easier-
that building down years ago, Dan.
Easier in and out.
I will make a comment. So I went and talked to Tim yesterday about it. He's really only adding a capacity of 8 people total, right?
Yeah.
8 chairs. So he's been operating it pretty much almost exactly the same way 4 or 5 months of the year by utilizing that patio. So I don't know that 8 chairs really makes a difference in the parking side of it. Gary has a good point with the curbside pickup, but those guys are only there for 4 or 5 minutes, and then they're gone.
But it's not permanent parking.
Correct. So, I mean, I don't see a problem with the 8 extra chairs. And I think it'll allow Tim to utilize the facility for quite a few more months, and hopefully that makes up for what all restaurants are losing right now.
Yeah, restaurants are in a hurting way.
The other thing is, is kind of an insurance for them if we do run into another pandemic, if you want to call it that. I'll say my opinion. But at least he would have more opportunity to utilize that space for a much longer time.
Yeah.
So.
To that point, right now, we're losing, if we get too much of a wait, we're asking people to go sit in their car, and then we got a passenger system that brings them in. And, as it gets colder like this, that once they go in the car, they're not coming back. So, if the worst case scenario is we can even use that as just a seating and a waiting area where people can properly social distance, I mean, that's a win in itself. Plus, during the week, we probably will utilize it as a private event room as well.
Okay.
A quick question that I have. You serve liquor out there, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. Your license are for outdoor seating and liquor?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'll move to approve with staff conditions. If there's any problem in parking, it'll come forward again, would be my recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Gary Paul, a second by Dan Pampern to approve with staff conditions. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, 6C, action regarding requested site plan review for Wisconsin Public Service, 2830 South Ashland Avenue, parcel VA-177. Aaron?
Wisconsin Public Service has requested site plan review for an enclosure for some new mechanicals at their existing building at 2830 South Ashland. This is not the new building. I guess we'll call it new, even though it's a few years old. This is the building immediately to the south of that. The mechanicals will be located on the north side of the building. As you can see on the screen, it's entirely enclosed, split-faced block concrete masonry unit with some access doors. It's really just to screen those new mechanicals. Pretty straightforward in terms of the project. For staff conditions, we do have the catch-all, meet all applicable requirements of the Ashwaubenon site plan review, all other Ashwaubenon municipal ordinances. And from public safety, provide a key for enclosure to be placed in Knox box for public safety access in case of emergency response. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you have regarding the WPS application.
Okay. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6D, action regarding requested site plan review for Cormier School, 2280 South Broadway, parcels VA-105 and VA-460-E-98. Aaron?
Okay, the request from the Ashwaubenon School District is for a couple additions to Cormier School. As you can see up on the screen, this would be the two red boxed areas here and here, as well as the new loop, horseshoe loop for student pickup drop-off. In terms of the elevations, I'll get to that in here just in a second. Scroll down, I believe it's probably the last page. Here you can see the elevations are similar to the existing Cormier School in terms of the masonry. Small canopy for entrance right there. And the actual renderings are right here. In terms of the overall site plan, the new student drop-off loop will be again north of the existing parking lot. There is a vegetated biofilter in the middle of that horseshoe to accommodate stormwater management. In terms of recommended conditions of approval, we do require screening for any new ground-mounted or rooftop mechanical units visible from neighboring properties or street right-of-way. Extend curbing around the entire loop of the horseshoe. Again, the catch-all meet all applicable requirements of the Village Ashwaubenon site plan review, all their municipal ordinances. From engineering, village to review and sign maintenance agreement, Ashwaubenon School District to record and provide record a copy back to the village. That's just in terms of the stormwater management benefits for the biofilter. The village does get some credit in terms of their MS4 permit for having that agreement in place with the school district. And forestry commented that they were pleased with the biofilter in the center of the drop-off area. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you. Otherwise, I believe school district representatives are here as well if you have any questions for them.
Anybody have questions?
I really think this is I like the traffic flow here by getting rid of some of that traffic that they did have a problem with on the street. Question I have is the bio pond, is that, how deep is that? You know, I'm looking at kids' safety. Is that going to be an issue, or is that fenced, or what?
I'll probably defer to the school district for that.
Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Joe Finger with Brander Engineering. We're the architectural firm that prepared the drawings. Our address is 975 Hanson Road. Let me get to the right project here. I don't have them all memorized, so I'm sorry about that. It is about 4 feet deep.
And Gary, just to be clear, it's not a stormwater pond per se, it's actually a biofilter. So the water actually will gather there and then percolate back into the soil. So it's actually vegetated as opposed to a typical stormwater pond.
Yeah, it's not going to hold water.
It's not going to hold water at 4 feet deep,
What's that?
at 4 foot deep.
Well, on a surge there might be water in there, but it's not intended, it's not a retention pond that like you have out on Ashland near Fox Communities Credit Union, right? Where you're always going to have water in there and geese flying all over the place.
Well, I still have a question on it. I know what you're saying about the water being relieved out of there after a rainstorm, but it's still going to be mucky and it's still going to be wet, period, regardless if there's water in there or not. I'm just
concerned about, especially that's for younger kids in that particular school, so.
That's the other comment I got, which is kind of not real, I guess, abnormal. Bicycle and pedestrian, no comment. It's a school. How come there's no bike racks?
I believe they're there already.
Yeah, I mean, these kids are 4K, 3K, and kindergarten.
Okay, so they're young enough
At
not to be
Cormier.
biking to school.
Yeah, I don't think their parents are going to let them bike there by themselves.
Okay, all right. All right,
Any other
no other
questions?
comments. I'll move to approve the Cormier School addition
Oh, no,
to parcel VA 105 and VA 1 or 406-E-98.
Nope.
I'll second, but I have a question on
Well-
the pond again. So I'm trying to envision this
Dan,
pond.
can you talk in the mic,
Oh,
please?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm trying to envision the pond in our school system. If I think of GAT construction, you know where GAT is on Glory Road? That's supposed to be a bio pond, right?
Before my time.
Yeah, it just looks horrible.
Which one is that, Dan?
Right next to GAT construction and right on Glory Road there.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah, just east of it. It was supposed to be a bio pond, and I actually think we've even asked him to clean it up a few times and maintain it. And that thing does hold water for, I'm guessing, less than 24 hours, and then it seems to dry up. I just wondered if the school really knows what they're getting themselves into with this pond.
That'd be a question for
There's a
Tom.
lot of engineers love to engineer these things,
For sure.
and they all look pretty, and then in reality, they turn into a disaster.
So, I mean, we can flip, I don't know, Aaron, if you want, to sheet C703, that shows a section through there, what this pond would look like. On the inside of that pond is going to be, what we're calling out for is for hardwood mulch in the middle. So,
Right, Tom Schmidt with the Ashwaubenon School District. I think we have a similar situation at the high school with the additions that went in. There'll be water in those for a short period of time and they drain out. The interesting thing about the Cormier School is there's really not an instance when any of the kids are not without a parent or a teacher. In that turn and that drop-off loop, what happens is they'll drive up and the teachers come out and they take the kids from the vehicles and they bring them right into school. And the interesting thing about how we're reworking this, currently the students go out of the school, around the school, and then into the playground. In the new scenario, they're going to go directly from the school into the fenced-in playground.
So I'm not concerned about the water in the pond. I'm not, what I'm concerned
About the
about is
maintenance
the
of it?
maintenance of it,
Right.
because that's the same thing that we have on Glory Road, wood chips. And wood chips create a ton of weeds. And, you know, within one season, we don't even see the wood chips anymore.
Right, and that's something that as a school district and as a maintenance department, that's something that we'll take care of. We'll take care of that on a weekly basis.
Okay, I'm not afraid of you taking care of it. Okay, that's not what I'm implying. I'm just implying, I hope the school district knows the amount of maintenance this pond is going to take.
Correct.
That's just, I guess, the only point I wanted to make on it is, it's
And
going
it's
to
a good
be
point.
a maintenance, continual maintenance problem. So, okay.
I have a question here. Speaking for myself, I think we could benefit from maybe a little bit more detail and clarification on, I see milkweed and switchgrass, and maybe a little more detail on exactly what this is going to look like, other than an aerial view of essentially a pencil drawing might be more helpful to us.
yeah, I can reach out to our civil engineer consultant that we used on this project and have him provide that.
Okay, Joel?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a few comments to this. This bioretention facility that they're proposing is a facility that we use quite often in Greenville, in my prior community, primarily because of the airport condition. In and around the airport, we couldn't have open bodies of water, so we needed to do a bioretention. So think of this as a hole in the ground that's backfilled with a granular sand mixture. Up to a certain depth, and then the very top part of that, I think it's 3 inches if I look at the diagram, that's where the mulch is, basically just to cover the ground area. And then they're going to be using a variety of native prairie plants that do well in both hot and wet environments, very well draining soils. Based on a rain event, maybe you have a 1 or 2 inch rain event, you might have a few inches of standing water. But if it's functioning correctly, there is that overflow and that water should go in there. So there should be no more than a few inches of water in the pond over a period of a few hours post a rain event. Beyond that, it will continue to remain dry. So if you look at this, it's basically going to look like a depression in the ground with a variety of native prairie plants in the middle of it. Dan is right. It does require a significant amount of maintenance because if we have a dry period in the summer, those plants will dry out very quickly because of the sand mixture. There's not a lot of organics in the mix that goes into the pit that is dug because it has to filter out the sediment that makes its way into the area. So there is a lot of maintenance as long as the owner recognizes that there will be plants that have to be replaced periodically throughout the life of that pond. It should be a very conceivable project.
So then presumably from earlier discussion, mud may not be a major issue with that?
Well, mud can be a problem if it's during the construction phase. Oftentimes they'll use this during a construction phase as a sediment basin. Mm-hmm. So it has to be cleaned out. That sand mix that goes into that basin needs to remain clean and free from clay and other organics in order for it to continue to work correctly. But yeah, mud should not be a problem.
And I'm glad you brought up what you did because I was going to ask the question about the overflow pipe, which I am seeing on here. How much water can be retained in that pond before the overflow kicks in? You know, the way I'm looking at it, it's halfway up the way it's tapered, it's up quite high.
From our lowest contour that we show on our plan is 595.5 feet. And the top of that overflow was 597, so it'd be 18 inches.
Could be what?
18 inches deep.
8 feet?
18 inches, 1 foot 6 inches.
Okay. I don't know, even though Dan is more concerned about appearance, I'm concerned about the water in there with young children. I don't know why that was not fenced.
Jerry, so they are dry a lot. I mean, you would have to have a major rain to use that overflow. And the water goes away quite quickly.
It does.
So,
You drive by one every day, I know when you're talking about, so you have a
the
little,
concern is if we don't maintain it, that doesn't work.
it don't work.
It doesn't work, you're right. And that's the problem we had on Glory Road. We had nobody maintaining that pond.
Okay.
And it filled in because you also have the runoff. So it is constantly gathering sediment and you need to maintain it. And if you don't, then it doesn't drain properly.
So in other words, Dan, you're saying if it's not maintained properly, it will have water in it till it does naturally seep away, but it's not going to do it as fast as if the if it was maintained properly.
That's correct.
So, Aaron, let me ask you this question. Do we have things in language in our ordinances to make sure that these are maintained?
Yeah, under our MS4 permit, we'll be working with the school district to make sure that is actually maintained. We'll have a maintenance agreement in place where if it isn't maintained, we can actually go in and maintain it.
Okay.
And we've done that on Glory Road.
You have, it has been reported and cleaned up, is what
Yeah,
you're
we
saying, Dan?
ordered and I honestly think the owner of the building didn't realize he had to maintain that pond.
Okay.
I don't think, probably the contractor told him that. And once he was told, I'm pretty sure he jumped right on it.
Because, that's just another thing, that's like all the ordinances we got, we got so many ordinances, you can't enforce them all unless they're driven by complaint that something's going on. So,
I just brought it up because I want the school district to understand this is not going to be a maintenance-free issue.
Right, and I think we did sign that maintenance agreement. One of the first things that we had to do in this process was sign that maintenance agreement, so we're aware of the maintenance on the pond.
Okay. Any more discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve the requested site plan review for Cormier School, parcels BA 105 and BA-460-E-98. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 6E, action regarding requested site plan review for Valley View Elementary School, 2200 True Lane, parcel VA-93-5. Aaron?
Okay. Again, pretty straightforward. The request is for site plan review for the air conditioning improvements to Valley View Elementary School. It's going to consist primarily of new mechanicals and ductwork on the roof to accommodate the air conditioning. In terms of village requirements, we do require screening for any mechanicals or ductwork on the roof that is visible from property line, adjacent property lines or street rights of way. On the plans, they do indicate a screening on as dashed lines. See if I can get to those areas here quick. As indicated by these dashed lines here, as well as here, to accommodate the village requirement for visual screening. So in terms of recommended conditions of approval, screen any new ground-mounted or rooftop mechanical units visible from neighboring properties and street rights-of-way, and then the catch-all, meet all applicable requirements of the Village of Ashwaubenon. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'm sure Joel can answer questions as well.
Aaron, you did say it has to be screened,
That's correct.
and they agreed to that?
It's shown on the plans as screened.
Okay. How far off the roof does that exceed? I'm looking for a side view and I'm not finding it.
In terms of height,
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
right.
could flip to any one of the M sheets up ahead of that. Should be some sections on there.
here's the
Yep.
detail up here. On M12.
Everything is top view from what I'm looking at.
All right, Gary, I do have the detail up on the screen there. Looks like it's probably about 3 feet or so from the roof.
Yeah, the duct sizes vary. Obviously bigger as you are closer to the HVAC unit that is located inside the building. The ductwork's gonna pop up on the building, get supplied, and drop down into each individual classroom. So the reason why the ductwork is up on top of the school here is these schools were originally designed with what you call unit ventilators. So it's almost like when you go into a hotel, right? You got your own personal unit on each wall. So when they designed this building, they didn't design the floor to ceiling to structure height in an adequate, enough space to run duct mains inside the building. So you're kind of pigeonholed on there. And the district has had issues with the unit ventilators in the past, with them freezing up because it's drawing outside air, and then you get a leak in the classroom, and it's been a mess. So the district's request was to centralize the HVAC to one, a few new units that they can maintain and distribute it all with ductwork. And with the time constraints for doing the work for the school, just in the summer hours, and also the cost, is the roof made the most sense to run that ductwork up on there, as opposed to tearing apart all the ceilings, trying to build in new soffits inside the school and relocate a whole bunch of electrical where you have a wide open space up on top of that roof right now. So that was kind of the design intent behind what brought us to this on Valley View.
Okay.
Same principle as homes built in the 50s and 60s with either boiler heat or electric heat. When they wanted to add air conditioning, they had to either go through the roof or the attic, is the principle. The question I have, and it's been brought up through, is are these units that you're installing purifying the air that they're talking about to block out viruses and, let's say, clean up the air?
So,
I'm not an expert on
yeah,
it.
so originally, when we first looked at this was back in 2019, and there was no such thing as COVID. So that was not in the original plan, but through our bidding process, what we did is we spec'd out what they call is needle point bipolar ionization. A fancy way of saying it's a piece of equipment that's going to go inside of the unit before the coil and the filters, and essentially it's like a coagulant, right? It's going to grab all those small virus particles and change the ionization of them to group them together so that the filter can catch them. And we have that being bid out by the contractors right now as an alternate price. So depending on where the prices come back in, that could go forward or could not.
So it is something that you
The school district's looking into it, but
Well, it's a
the
good
bids are,
time.
the bids are due now, this Thursday, so we'll have some real prices on it, and we'll know if,
Well, isn't it a good time to do it, seeing you're installing all this?
correct.
In my conversation.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions about Valley
Well,
View?
The only question I have is on the screening. Do you okay that, Aaron? So it's not going to be like a vinyl fence up there, is it?
No, they did include a specification for the screening. It's a standard screening that you see on rooftops all over the place. I mean, it's a typical screening material.
It's a corrugated metal.
Yeah.
Corrugated metal. All right, thank you.
I'd had a question with regard to the chiller and sound deadening and vibration deadening. I'm looking at page A1. Given that these are classrooms and offices, can you kind of just give a little overview of, and I'm speaking from personal experience, sometimes if the sound deadening is not there, there's people working in these offices who go bananas with all the vibration. What's being done or what can be done, or is being done to mitigate any of that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the chiller's outside, so that's one thing to
So
deaden
this
it,
is,
right?
this is not mounted on a roof.
Correct, it's mounted at grade.
It's outside the building.
Outside
next
of the
to wall,
building.
Right?
There's one window next to it, which is a psychologist's office, and then the other area is a corridor. So trying to keep it away from classrooms was the intent, and then also locate it near the main electrical service as a cost savings measure, right? So it takes a lot of power to power those. So. And then
So
we
distance
have-
is what you're saying, essentially it's proximity.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Somebody want to make a motion?
Well, I thought we did already. I'll make a motion to approve it.
I thought we did already.
Not
Nope. A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dan Pampern, second by Dale Quinn, to approve the site plan for Valley View Elementary School, 2200 True Lane, parcel VA-93-5. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6F, action regarding requested site plan review for Pioneer School, 1360 Ponderosa Avenue, parcel VA-157-2. Aaron?
The requested site plan review is again for an office addition, as you can see in the red boxed area, right here, the corner of the building. In terms of materials, again, consistent with what we've experienced with the existing building, masonry. I'm just going to try to get there. To make everything today, it's moving a little slow. Long story short, in addition, the existing HVAC systems will be replaced or modified to install air conditioning at the unconditioned areas of the school. Caught up now. So here you see the elevations for the school, masonry, windows, as well as a entranceway, consistent with the existing school. Renderings right there. In terms of recommended conditions of approval, again, screen any new ground-mounted or rooftop mechanical units visible from neighboring properties or street rights-of-way, meet applicable requirements of the Ashwaubenon site plan, review all their Ashwaubenon municipal ordinances, and then forestry just does note that plans call for 2 mature trees to be removed for the addition. Nothing more than that from them. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm sure Joel can answer them as well.
Any questions?
I'll move to approve. I don't see nothing.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, and we have a second to approve with staff conditions. Correct.
I mean, it's okay to take out the parking there, and it is a school, I know. But,
Say that again? There's no parking being removed.
oh, I thought it looked like there's like 4 stalls being replaced or removed.
So where the addition's going is, it's pushing out, right now the parents drop off their kids there. So we're just narrowing that lane right now.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve with staff conditions. Gary?
Question, there's signage there. Does that need to be approved or what?
Any signage will come through as a separate permit application,
Oh, it will.
separate from site plan review committee.
Okay, okay. All right, Mayor.
How much are you narrowing the drop-off lane? That's an absolute nightmare dropping children off in that school.
It's currently where that is, where it, if you're familiar with it, it is kind of painted with a diagonal yellow lines. There is a drive lane. So that sidewalk's pushing out to there just for the location of our addition, and then it will curve back in to have that lane again.
So that might help because people park right there.
They do. And then they get out of their vehicle and they go into the school and
Yeah,
nothing gets
and
done
then you
about
can't
it.
get
It's-
through.
It's a problem,
So that might solve some of that.
hopefully.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to recommend approval with staff conditions. Any more discussions or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, let me just say before we continue to go on, all of the approvals were with staff conditions, correct?
That's correct.
I just want to make sure of that. Okay. Okay. 6G, action regarding requested site plan review for Ashwaubenon High School, 2391 South Ridge Road, parcel VA-129-1. Aaron?
All right, last but certainly not least is the air conditioning mechanicals for the high school. adding air conditioning to that area, or to that school as well. As you can see, try to get to the overview. Some pretty hefty files, so they take a little bit of time. Yeah. So here you can see the overview of the proposed mechanicals, as well as the proposed screening to screen those from view from, again, adjacent properties or street rights-of-way. In terms of staff recommended conditions, again, screen any new ground-mounted or rooftop mechanical units visible from neighboring properties or street rights-of-way, and then meet all applicable requirements of the Ashwaubenon site plan review and all other Ashwaubenon municipal ordinances. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm sure Joe could answer them as well.
Is this about the same as the one on, the last one
Valley
we
View?
did with the
Yep.
air conditioning?
Yep, so it follows that same logic. There's, where you see the rooftop ductwork, those were the areas of the school that were designed with that small space between the ceiling and the structure, so it kind of forced the ductwork up on top of the roof. And that's going to be as part of the two-story area, and a little bit on the, would be the west side. It jumps from two-story down to a single story there in the southwest corner. There are 4 new chillers that are being placed on the roof also. The chillers on this project are not being mounted on the ground, so those will have screening around them.
I heard the word screening. Okay.
I know our ordinance requires screening, and
All right, no other questions. I'll move to approve the site plan review for the high school at 2391 South Ridge Road with staff conditions.
Second.
okay, we have a motion by Gary, a second by Dennis to approve the site plan review for Ashwaubenon High School, parcel VA-129-1 with staff conditions. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, number 7, department reports.
We obviously continue to be busy. Eric and Katie are working very hard in terms of all of the development we have going on in the village right now in spite of the pandemic. Things are continuing to ramp up. I think we're going to see even more activity as we push into late winter and early spring. So we're definitely earning our keep. In terms of for next meeting, we will, I'm pretty sure, have a submittal for the 16th as well.
Okay, well, that's, number 8 is we have to discuss the date of our next meeting because that is election day. So this room will have election. Can we by chance have it in A?
They need a,
Oh, they need A also for central count. Oh, we can't have it in A. Okay. I know a couple of our meetings are being switched to Thursday, the 18th. Can anybody do Thursday at 3? Does that work?
Like, can we have it in A on the same day?
no,
Well,
No.
we can't.
No,
Thursday would be the 18th.
right.
Well, as long as it's not below 0 weather and we can get out.
So I won't be here on the 18th, but Andy will be back.
And you'll be done wrestling. Okay.
I'm good the 18th, I think.
I'm good.
You can both do the 18th?
I'll have
Chris?
to check.
You'll
I
check?
should double check to make sure though, Terry, I'll tell you,
Okay.
just to make sure.
So we'll tentatively plan it for Thursday, the 18th at 3. Okay? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.